Okay, so we will quickly cover this part of the presentation and participation in conferences after you have written. So yesterday we discussed how to write the paper. So now let's assume that you're good in writing the paper. So I produced a nice paper. It's time to improve it and communicate it to other peers and get some inputs to even improve it better before you submit it to a journal. So conference presentation is really important. Conference, seminars, workshops, informal academic meetings, there are different forms, so you can call them whatever name you want. It's just you present and peers criticize. Your peers, economists. It should be within your group, not only economists, but also like specialized people in your area. If you're working on health issues, you have to go to health economics conferences as well. Labor or human capital issues, you go to human capital or labor conferences. So how do you identify seminars and conferences? How about networking and interacting with peers? Presentation guidelines, so I'll give you some tips to avoid. Have you seen that presentation where you sit down and you don't say it, of course, but in your mind, oh man, I'm gonna fall asleep. I want to give you some tips to avoid that. You must present your research to peers and mentors regularly. It has so many advantages. First is it's important feedback when you work. It improves the quality of your work. So you can benefit. I mean, most of us, when we're juniors, especially, we're really scared of people's criticism. So we want to rush and present and I'm done. That's really the wrong thing to do. You have to present, people are criticizing, you have to be grateful that they're criticizing. As long as their objective is to improve your paper. I think very often it is. It's just like, hey, this is incorrect, you have to do it this way, that way. That's helpful because if they don't, the reviewers will find out. All right? So there's so many comments that I got in conferences. Look at the papers, for example, the published papers. In the acknowledgement section, seminar participants are acknowledged, or people who gave comments. You can see there were like tons of seminars. The paper that I gave you yesterday, the World Bank Economic Review paper, that was presented at least in 10 conferences in Berkeley, in Oxford, in Brown, so many conferences. So the input that we got from all these people was acknowledged, and that's why the paper was improved. It was published in a decent journal. Second advantage is your work gets noticed. It improves your citation. Citation is one measure of your impact as a researcher. At the end of the day, if your paper doesn't have any impact, even if it's published, what's the point? So presenting it in a conference will improve its citation because the conference will communicate it in its website. People will know about it. It will be on YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter. It creates opportunities. Example, publication in a special issue of a journal. In big conferences, very often journals come up and say that, okay, we want to publish these papers in a special issue in this journal. That's an excellent opportunity. So you have a better advantage because the peers will be from within that group, so you have a better chance of getting that paper published. Collaboration. People would invite you to join in related projects. I mean, a quarter of the projects that papers that I published, actually the friendship and the co-authorship started in conferences and presentations. I co-authored papers, more than 40 people based in probably 40 institutions all over the world. And then conferences and presentations are actually one of the main reasons why I was able to collaborate with all these. It improves communication skills, even your vocabulary. We all have a fear of speaking in front of people. I think I remember that some people were scared of it even more than getting cancer. They were asked, they call it a fear of public speaking. And it's true. I mean, it's very normal. We all are scared of, when you are out in a stage to talk and like 200 people means like 400 eyes are like looking at you, just like, wow. But when you start presenting in a small group of people and then, giving the presentation a bigger audience wouldn't be challenging. So it will improve your confidence, your speaking skills. And also even your vocabularies as well. It gets inspiration from successful academics. You will see people presenting their papers. It's like, wow, that was a great presentation because I was able to follow the presentation all the 45 minutes. This must be a very talented speaker. So how the hell did he or did she make it? So I want to learn from it. Meet up with co-authors and progress on ongoing work. Very often, actually, if it is an international conference, let's say the Oxford conference in March, some friends, we talk about, okay, are you submitting a paper for this journal? Yes. All right, let's meet up there 2 days before the conference. We're going to push our work. So we work on our own project, or sometimes in the evenings or in the afternoons. So we use it to progress in our work. 8, it improves your CV and it gives positive signals. Actually, very often if you look for a job, academic job actually, one of the requirements is that you must have presented your papers and given keynotes and other presentations in different international conferences. So you put it there, so it has so many advantages. So I quoted some of my great work with colleagues I made during presentations, conferences, and staff seminar series. Where do you present your papers? The first is departmental seminar series, or we call them brown bags. You get in-house peer input. It is very unfortunate, actually, that I haven't seen that many of these presentations in UCT and UP. All these South African universities. It's not a South African issue. It's all African universities. I work in other 7, 8 African countries. Nobody talks about seminars and papers. It's very difficult to have a strong department without having academic seminars. You have to have at least 1 per week. 1. In Gothenburg, we have like 5 per week. Yes, 5. Monday is the Environmental Economics Group Seminar Series. I'm talking about 80, 90 faculty, right? Tuesday is the standard general staff economic seminar, general for everyone. Wednesdays is the labor or something. Thursdays is the development group. Fridays is the behavioral economics group. No, this is too much for sure. And Gothenburg is advanced. Berkeley is the same as well. They have PhD student seminar series, only designed for PhD students. They have discipline-specific finance seminar series, labor seminar series. So having a minimum 1 per week, it's very hard to call yourself a research department. That's the problem. These universities are research universities. That means you are specializing both in research, academic research, and high-level teaching. That's how they are, all the top universities as well. So if you don't have a department seminar in your regular seminar series, you have to go and talk to the bosses of the department. We have to have a seminar. These days, thanks to Zoom, you don't have to be present in the class. It's nice to present it like this in an audience for sure, but it's also fine to have it hybrid as well. You can do it online as well. Conference workshops, input promise in the area of research. Attend at least 1 conference per year. A couple of more is better if you have the finances and the opportunity. Sometimes it's also possible to get finances. In some of the conferences, for example, the Oxford Development Conference, that's one, the one I go to mostly. There's the Nordic Development Conference, that's in June. There's the European Association of Environmental and Resource Economists. That's if you're working on anything that has links with the environment. It can be industrial economics, but still it has components on environmental issues. You can send it there, and they can give you a scholarship to come and present it if the paper is good. So there's so many of these options, and look for funding opportunities. Very often they give funding opportunities for applicants from the global south. Attend as many sessions as possible. Do not skip sessions to visit the souvenir shop. Plan for it after the conference. I've seen that. Some colleagues, they go to the conference, and once they presented their paper, they start going out and buying stuff that they want to bring home. We use the opportunity to do that. It's a good idea when we have to bring some toys for the kids. But don't do it during a presentation time. And also, don't forget one thing. You have to treat others to be the way you want to be treated. That means you presented your paper and you were very happy that people came to attend. Don't you think you have the responsibility to go and attend other people's sessions as well? Here you do. I think a lot of people forget about that. This is a typical problem that we see people coming from the global south. I have to be honest about this. Particularly, do not miss keynote sessions. The keynote sessions are big sessions, plenary sessions, usually in a conference every day, like at the 3-day conference. The conference organizers invite one prominent figure in the discipline. These people have tons of knowledge. They've been working for 20, 30 years in the topic. They're going to present something, so you can learn a lot, and you can see where is the direction of the research in that area. So keynote sessions, do not skip them. Rich insights on a specific topic, directions for future research, and learning and inspiration. So you can benefit a lot if you attend those. Funding for a conference, this is a big challenge. That's also one of the key reasons that a lot of people mention. We have to push. One thing is it's very difficult to find money to finance conference trips. It's very expensive. I totally get it. But funding for conference presentation is substantial, particularly to early career and global south researchers. The departments don't have funding for conferences because one trip to Europe, it will cost you at least $3,000. That's just a minimum, between $2,000 to $3,000. The flights and then the hotels, two major expenses. There's also that visa application and everything, issue. Plan for it way in advance. In many research grants, you can include travel costs to conferences. When you apply for research grants, if you do, we'll talk about it in the ethics part, you have to include conference budgets. I think that's why we like what we do. It gives us the opportunity to travel the world and present our paper. Many conferences are nowadays giving scholarship for participants from the Global South, like I indicated. This is the African Economic Conference. This is funded by the African Development Bank. Who knows about this conference? Have you ever attended? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. There's also another advice that I will give in the publication side. You have to have thick skin for rejection. If you don't, you should change your career. I've been rejected so many times. There were actually, I don't know who it is, but I heard the story. The paper was rejected from so many major journals, but I think the guy became, at the end of the day, because of that work, he won the Nobel Prize. So it doesn't mean anything. You're rejected doesn't mean, actually I've been also a part of many of these conferences, like the European Economic Association, like European Environmental Economic Association, EFD. So these decisions are made in ad hoc basis, in rushed manner sometimes. People just look at the abstract and accept the paper. So it really doesn't mean anything. You have to keep trying. You have to keep submitting. It is very good. The African Economic Conference is usually done in one of the African countries, financed by ADB, the African Development Bank. So they cover the cost, travel, and everything. So keep an eye, sign up for their newsletter, and to know when the conference is. Economic Development in Africa, that's a Center for the Study of African Economies. Oxford Conference, I think, is going to be next weekend. So it's in March. The paper submission is in September. So you have to submit in September already for next year's presentation. The European Economic Association Conference, ERE, European Association of Environmental and Resource Economists. This is end of June usually. This year it's going to be in Bergen, Norway. But the submission is closed. Like I said, it's closed 6 months before. And Environment for Development, where I work as well, annual conference, it is mostly in October. So make sure to follow these. And some of them actually, it has become, that's a positive side of COVID actually. It destroyed, it killed many people, unfortunately. But there's something good that came out of that crisis because we've started using the online platform quite often. Many conferences now give you the option to present your paper in a hybrid manner. That means you can present, you can get the comments and the feedback. If the discussant is assigned, they will give you feedback. So that's really great. So then you don't need to worry about travel cost. Okay, so that's about conferences. Presentation, effective presentation. In part, I took it from Concharan and Cox 2019. It's a website, you can search for it. I think it's not a published source, I just have their websites there. Use fewer words, do not read from the slides. This is the biggest problem that we see. People actually write an entire paragraph in the bullet. And that's really a no-no. Because when you write a paragraph, and then you read it to the audience, no, you can see exactly how this is presented. You see, fewer words, and then you have to rehearse it before. Do not put too many equations. People cannot follow them that fast. This is another turn off. People want to show how good they are and how much hard work they put in the paper, and they put in all the derivations and everything. No. We're not interested because we know the equations. What we want to know is, you want to go to a conference, what are the things that you want to know? Can I ask? I'm going to give a seminar. What is the question that comes to your mind that you want to know as soon as possible?
What's the research question?
That's one. What else?
Results.
Before the results.
Methodology.
Identification. How do you identify it? That's like the biggest question. And the third question? The key results. We also want to know what are the contributions maybe as well. But usually not in conferences. Of course, when you're reviewing a paper, the contribution is important. But here when you're presenting, why does this matter? Why do we care about this research? Plus, how are you identifying what kind of data and what are the key results, takeaway results? That basically is like 2 slides. So that's what people want to know. So don't waste time talking about background information. This is a bad presentation habit. Leave slides up for a decent amount of time for people to digest them. No rushing. Don't put too much information and don't rush it too much and don't come up with 50 slides for a 15 minutes presentation. There is no way you're going through it. Because even if you practiced it, you're a fast speaker, let's say. Right? You rehearsed it at home, so like, okay, these 50 slides, I will rush them in 19 minutes. I promise you, whenever you are in front of the people, it will take you 30 minutes. Because you get distracted, technical problems, time flies. So you have to prepare for all these. If it is a 20, in many cases, conference presentations, you are given maximum 20 minutes to present your paper. 20. Then after 20 minutes, probably a discussant and discussion, 30 minutes. So we allocate 30 minutes per paper. That's it. If you wasted all your time talking about background information, you missed out of that conference. Because you're not going to get the input because the results are the most important part. Get to the point as quickly as possible, what you do and what you find. Start with your research question, why it is important, motivate it quickly, and then move on to how you do the research. Speak loudly, slowly, and clearly. Very 3 important objectives. Loud, slowly, and clearly. It should be clear, it should be loud enough for people to hear, and it should be slow as well so that people can understand, can follow you. Time goes much faster than you anticipate. This happens even if you have rehearsed your presentation several times, as I indicated. Unexpected technical issues, distractions during presentations. So sometimes you start to rumble and repeat things when something distracts you. Sometimes some weird people start their own conversation when you're presenting. Have you seen this? It happens very often, and it's extremely irritating. They just look up, oh no, that's like, and they point at it like as if they are by themselves. So like sometimes you have to say, excuse me, can I have your attention, please? Politely. Avoid preview of results, at least in conference presentations. You're given 15 to 20 minutes. This is a typical problem nowadays. It's important to give highlights of the results. Do you remember the introduction? So kind of the presentation follows the introduction. In the introduction, we give what? Detailed presentation of the results. So some people copy that form and put it in the presentation as well. Especially if you are in a conference, it's not a good idea to do it. Because they are given only 15 to 20 minutes. So you want to go into the detail as the results and the analysis as much as possible. That's the area where you need the most input. And also how to frame the paper. So the 2 comments that you need are, how do I improve the identification? I mean, people are now going to improve the research question. You have already formulated it, right? So what they will help you is to better identify it, improve the estimation. Conduct robustness checks, diagnostics, etc. And also how to frame the paper. How better is it? How is it? What is the best way to sell this paper to the reader? What is the contribution should be reframed? Is it a contribution in development economics? Or is it a contribution in the general economics literature? That's where you need inputs. So otherwise, time will be up, and you will have to rush the results. The most important parts. This is something that I see consistently. They already killed the time by talking about background information, 10 slides. By the time they're closing its time, the chairman says, you only have 3 minutes. They haven't even started discussing the results. That is the section you need the most comments. So you already missed from that conference. You're not going to get any important feedback. Remember, you wasted your time. You traveled all the way there to present this paper. You need to get something out of it. Listen to questions all the way to the end. Take a breath before answering. Respond concisely. Do not be defensive. There's a fine balance about this, huh? So, big problem. People, well, I was guilty of that in my early days as well. You have to let the person finish their question. Then they're in the middle of their question. They probably have two connected questions, so you try to intervene and answer. Just wait. When they finish their question, think a little bit, take a breath. Sometimes if it is too, you don't have to be defensive. It's like, no, like my paper is good, kind of defense is not good. Or saying that, oh, you're right, and I will accept all your comments, that's not good either. So you have to have a fine balance. If you have to explain politely why you did it that way, and you don't think the way that the person who asked the question thought. So you have to have that. Sometimes it's okay to postpone answers to questions, but do not forget, because very often, sometimes people ask, do you also do this? Can you also do this? Yes, that's coming up in the next slide. So, or, yeah, just give me 2 minutes and then I will answer that when I discuss the results. You can do that too. Yes.
In terms of adding figures from your results,
Yes.
is it good to just limit that to as little as possible?
Yes, figures are good, very helpful actually, than tables. For example, the coefficients. When you present the coefficients, sometimes it's good to put them in figures, because figures are much more attractive from the human eye than like numbers and tables. It's good, but like you said, you cannot put them too much as well. It's like a couple of figures. Sometimes if they like the results change when you do one thing to another, you can see that the results before and the results after next to each other. Always keep a notebook handy and take notes. It's very important to do that. Very many people don't do that in conferences. Whenever you go to the presentation chair, you just bring a notebook as well or a piece of paper and write the questions that have been asked, especially the ones that you are not able to answer or the ones that you think will improve. That's because sometimes it's only a comment. Okay, I suggest that you do robustness analysis by changing the way you measure your outcome variable. Instead of using levels, use logs. Okay, that's a great point. Write logs in your paper, notebook. Questions, suggestions, plus names of the people who gave you important feedback and suggestions. Especially, sometimes I got very good comments from conferences. So these people should be acknowledged in the paper. Thereby I thank X, Y, Z for offering important, valuable input in previous time. So the Big Five approach, tell the audience your research question immediately, motivate its importance, point out the limitations in previous work. So the limitations in previous work, these two are actually showing you your contribution as well. So they can be embedded in the motivation. Why you did this research is because the research is lacking, the literature is lacking this information. And then elaborate how you're doing better, what you are improving. So yesterday, for example, the RCT paper that I was telling you about that we're doing in Tanzania, we say that almost all previous 29 RCTs on energy use in developing countries were done in households. There's nothing on enterprises, but enterprises consume 50%. That's like a clear motivation. So which clearly means that we're the first, basically, to come up with that research. Summarize your main results up front, but like I say, this is this is a bit mixed. Two presentations. I'm talking about two presentations at the same time, so sorry about that. The first one is like a conference presentation. It's 20 minutes. But the other one is what we call departmental presentation. When you give a presentation in a department, usually you're given about 45 minutes to an hour. So the approach that you follow between the two are different. If you are given 45 minutes, how many slides can you have? You can have up to 25, 30 slides even, if you speak fast, and some of them are like figures and graphs. But if it is only a 15 to 20 minutes conference, then you have to limit it to less than 12 or 15 max. Because if one slide, like this, for example, how long do you think it takes to go through all the points. That's like the absolute minimum. If you have taken note, it's almost 4 minutes now since I started discussing this. So you can see that a slide like this can take 4 minutes. Let's agree on an average like 3 minutes. Which means if you are given 20 minutes, you cannot have more than 8 slides. You see? So keep it under 10 slides. That would be my advice. Move on to the rest of the presentation. Provide an intuitive appetizer, simple model, regression, or a graph delivering the main message, the identification. What is the main identification strategy? Like, write the equation. That's not too many equations, just one. Very simple, like someone with a basic knowledge could understand, a basic knowledge in economics. Boil your idea to its simplest sentence and tell to the audience. Keep the math as little as possible. Undergrad econ level is good, even if it's presentation, because most of us, we cover dynamic optimization in the PhD program. I'm very confident that nobody remembers how it was solved and things like that. Because you always remember what you work on, right? Because if you're working like in RCT, you just follow like ITT, like average treatment effect and things like that, and you don't remember really dynamic optimization or linear algebra. So if you keep that kind of model, people, even if they have covered a long time ago in the PhD, they don't remember. So the point is like, yeah, tell them that you do that, but you don't need to go through the details on how to solve it and things like that. And emphasize the economic intuition. I mean, we are economists at the end of the day when you present. This is a business, I mean, it's not really relevant, but I just include it for fun, especially if you are doing like a keynote or like a major talk for a kind of a larger audience, not really for your peers. For your peers, it's use fewer slides and fewer words. Reduce clutter when you can. Sometimes these big presentations, when Bill Gates or some of these guys are making these presentations. Oh, have you ever seen the TED Talk presentations? Yeah. You've seen the TED Talk presentations, right? Think about TED kind of presentations. This advice is like that. So no math, no details, mostly using what? Pictures and graphs. So use stories. Do not use bullet points. Consider pictures and images more. So this is not honestly for economics presentation. So I'm just, I would probably have to clarify that in there. And then enhance your vocal delivery. Vary the pace, pitch and volume of their voice. Effective signals confidence. You change like an artist, you change the tone of your voice. Oh, wow, and yes, and I was slowly, and etc. You see what this is basically art. So you do that. It helps a little bit to do that in teaching as well, of course, but because you catch the attention. Because if it is really consistent voice and you're standing there and talking, people will start falling asleep. Create wow moments, something that will be remembered. Well, I'm not sure about that, but just take it as it is. But the most important thing for all of it is rehearse. Nobody rehearses them. Very few people rehearse presentations. Even you lecture notes, you have to rehearse them. You have to go through them before you go to class. Of course, that will increase the cost. That's why teaching effectively is very expensive for the teacher. And we know that it's not a rewarded profession. We're not highly paid, but we know that we're not there for the teaching, for the payment as well. But rehearse. You have to rehearse your presentations. End of lecture. Any question on presentations, conferences, and etc.?
Well, I think also a question. So when it comes to the results, so you said less equations.
Yes.
So would you prefer illustrations or, for example, table? So you would rather move towards illustrations?
Yes. Yeah, it's fine as long as the table is neat. I can tell you one big problem. For example, it's a good question that you asked. One big problem, maybe this is something that we should have discussed. So this paper investigates the impact of power outage on generator use and gas consumption. And we changed that into the gas consumption, which also changed it into CO2. So when there's a frequent power interruption, what happens to the probability of owning a generator, the log use, hours per day, how many hours you use it. These are the outcome variables. Gas cost. Look at the result, you see? The only variable that I'm interested in is the power outage variable. So my equation is yi, this is my equation, equal to xi beta plus eta power outage plus ei. This is my equation. I is equal to 1 up to, and it's a cross-sectional equation. I'm using regression discontinuity. Remember the regression discontinuity model that I discussed yesterday? So the outcome variables, these are all, what are these X variables? Control variables, right? So the factors that determine generator use or owning a generator. Owning a generator is not only a result of what? Power interruption. Are there other factors that affect it? Yes. Money. Your ability to pay. What else? Yes. One. Another? Other variables. How about socioeconomic characteristics of the owner? Whether you are a male-headed, these are enterprises, or not. The industry that you are in. All right? Are you selling like something that needs refrigeration or not? So all these are like 10, 15 controls. We call them control variables. So I controlled for them. You see, these are the X variables. You have to always control for them, of course. My main focus is power outage. So the results that I present is what? Only the coefficient on power outage. This is something that we forgot to discuss yesterday using a practical in the writing section when you present your results. So I simply said what? Controls here? No, but here? Yes. Do you see what happens? This is what? Power outage. So the first equation is this. Okay, in terms of basic econometrics, what? This equation is nested and this one. So this is what I estimate first. You have to do. This is always a good idea to do it that way. So you see what? The impact. And then you see the coefficient? How much is it? It's almost 0.19 or 188. Then you have to put in the control variables. Doing that is important because when you add all those control variables, I think, look at these control variables. The control variables include age, gender, years of schooling of the owner, whether the firm is managed by a hired manager or not, whether the manager has a formal business training or not, and the type of product or service the firm sells. All these variables also affect your generator acquiring decision. So, but when I present the result, I start with this, and then when I controlled what happened to the result, it has declined from to 1.56. So you see the difference between the two is a result of what? The control variables. And this is the result, the main result. So you present the results like this, but you don't need all those list of results, not even in the paper. You see what I mean? You don't report the results. You only report this part. This is how we present the paper. In the old days, I remember people were putting up age, years of schooling, whatever. You just put up 15 variables, but there's no point in including them because they're all endogenous. We're not interested in them. We just control for them, right? But what we are interested is on the effect of power outage. That's the paper is all about. Because if you've seen the power outage and firm generator use, a regression discontinuity analysis. So this paper is not about the determinants of generator use. So results should be presented this way. You can present this in graphs if you want. You can present it because the coefficients can be put in graphs as well. Stata can produce it in graphs. Oh, and of course, when we start the research ethics part, we'll discuss it, but you do understand that you have to share your data. When the paper is accepted, you have to provide the codes, the results, everything should be replicated. It's a must. You can't get away without submitting the data anymore because people have been cooking the data because of unethical research practice. Nowadays, they even ask you, how did you clean the data for that matter? So you have to provide the cleaning if you want to publish in the top journals, like in the top 100 journals, I would say.
I might be speaking on a correction, but I think it's something like 25% of papers that don't include data or code could actually be replicated.
Yes. Yes. So it's a big business by itself. Now, some people actually replicate, who have been trying to replicate those results, have realized that the data doesn't replicate. So it's very important to be careful. Otherwise, it will put you in hot water. Remember, these can come back and bite you back 10 years after you have published the paper. So it's very important to be careful at most. Yes.
The person asks you a question, and it's an interesting question to your research.
Yes.
Could you maybe like ask them why they asked that question, or why did they suggest, you know?
Yeah.
Is it not?
Yeah, no. I think what you tell them is they can't ask you why you ask that question in every question. You see, in general, you tell them the purpose of the survey. You see? Because the problem is, we had that kind of paper, we'll cover it in the research ethics course. The way you ask and the way how much information you reveal to a respondent can affect their response. What do you need? You don't need their response. You need is their correct response, not really tamed response. So asking, if they ask you and you give them explanation, it's just a part of the research question. So we just want to understand. So if it is about energy survey, you tell them this is about energy survey. So, but they still have a right not to respond. That you tell them. In my view, I think that's how you should do it. Because the reason is, there are some studies, for example, we studied whether people are honest or not. Yeah, if I ask you a question, I say like, why do you ask me that question? Because I want to determine whether you're an honest person or dishonest person. I mean, how would you expect that the person would respond? Nobody wants to be considered dishonest, so they will lie to you, basically. So you got the wrong information, so you have to find a different way of getting that kind of information, which we did, and I will give you I will share that study in the case studies part.